Habló de los planes que vienen para el próximo año, donde incursionará en diferentes proyectos deportivos. Además, reiteró que su prioridad arriba del ring es la revancha en contra de Tyron Crawford, misma que ya se está negociando, misma que quiere acomodar lugar.
Yup. You guys, we got two breaking news things to talk about right now in the sport of boxing, all right? Canelo Alvarez will be taking on Terrence Bud Crawford. Negotiations have began. This has been reported by TV Azteca. A bunch of Mexican news channels started dropping it. Now Rain Magazine, and everybody is talking about the rematch that's coming in 2026. This will be Terrence Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez's next fight, in my opinion. This will be on May 9th or May 2nd of 2026. If you guys don't know, Canelo, he fights in May and he fights in September every single year, 2 times a year for the last, I don't know how many years. So, that being said, negotiations have been started talking about. We just had the fight September 13th. Terrence Bud Crawford went in there and became 3-time undisputed world champion in 3 different divisions, right? He's a junior welterweight undisputed world champion, a welterweight world champion, moved up to 154, then moved up to 168, and took all of these straps off of Canelo Alvarez. Since then, Canelo Alvarez, I know he's hurting. I know he's pissed. He doesn't like to lose. He's not used to losing. So, I think this is absolutely perfect. You know, Canelo Alvarez has one more shot. It looks like they're going to go forward with it, okay? In my opinion, another great fight. Terrence Bud Crawford is going to do the same exact thing that he did in the first fight against Canelo Alvarez. I respect Canelo for trying to come in here and you know, put his corazon on the table, put his heart on it, and try to get back his bout. It'll be an amazing attempt. If he does it, wow, wow, wow. But at the end of the day, I think Terrence Bud Crawford is going to get this done, okay? Now, for the other breaking news, Anderson the Spider Silva, who was supposed to take on Chris Weidman on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis, okay? If you guys don't keep with UFC, this was an absolute great rivalry. At the time, Anderson the Spider Silva, and to this day, still one of the greatest UFC fighters to ever do it. Held the bout for what? Over 6 years. I believe he held the title longer than anybody has held the title, consecutive days. Okay? And fought and ended up running into Chris Weidman, who knocked him out and completely ended that and changed the career of Anderson the Spider Silva for the rest of his life. Right after that, right, in the second fight, Anderson the Spider Silva comes back, fights Chris Weidman. He breaks his leg. Wow, that was the end of that. Now, 10 years later, we were supposed to be getting that rematch on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis in a boxing fight. Well, since that's been canceled, Gervonta Tank Davis is civil suit. They announced a new fight for Jake Paul. He's fighting Anthony Joshua. Chris Weidman had to pull out of the fight. Okay, they couldn't reschedule it. He has an injury. But guess who's going to step in for Chris Weidman? Yes, you've seen the thumbnail. Tyron Woodley, former UFC welterweight champion, defended his time about 4 times before losing it to Kamaru Usman in 2019, if I am correct, right? Now that we look at that, Kamaru Usman ended up being one of the greatest. Some people say he's the greatest welterweight champion of all time. I disagree. GSP is up there. But since then, Tyron Woodley competed in his last boxing or MMA fight in 2021 against who? Jake Paul. And what did Jake Paul do to him? He slapped him. Slapped him into the other world and absolutely went viral. Jake Paul, ridiculous knockout. Well, in 4 years, this man has not competed in an MMA or boxing fight and is coming back to take on none other than Anderson the Spider Silva. Yo, I don't know if Tyron Woodley needs a check. I don't know what's going on in here. But for the fact that he's coming back and taking on Anderson the Spider Silva, my friends, this is absolutely breaking news. Silva's probably going to go in there and beat down Woodley, all right? I don't know what's going to happen. But it's absolutely breaking news for my UFC guys. If you're still a fan of Tyron Woodley, And I'm always going to be an absolute huge fan of Anderson the Spider Silva. He's a legend and a pioneer in the UFC. I can't wait to see that fight, my friends. Breaking news, man. Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Bud Crawford, Anderson the Spider Silva, Tyron Woodley. Wow, my people.